coming to life.
He still takes the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W, so gotta be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkers. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.
And welcome back to Racing in the Draft. My name's Mark. Thanks for showing up again for a Sunday morning broadcast of Racing in the Draft. Last week ended up being unusually busy. I'm not sure what YouTube's algorithm changed, but for the new viewers, I appreciate you tuning in, and the new subscribers, welcome. Hopefully we have the same result today. That was quite astonishing, actually. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but 3,800 views. I usually average about 400 to 500 views, and I like 10x'd it last week. So I'm not going to question it. It may have been just a fluke, but I do appreciate YouTube putting me into whatever feed it had. But we're just going to keep doing what we always do and talk about some NASCAR. Cash Money, what's up, buddy? Oh, you're more than welcome. By the way, Suarez yeah. I try not to cuss on here, so yeah, the backside of a donkey. I got you. But I'm not sure why you think that. But yeah, I mean, I could see the argument for and against Suarez. Give me more information. Why do you not like Suarez this week? And will that change if he wins the race today? Because right now, if anybody out there is telling you they know what's going to happen in this race, they're lying, because there's no clue after watching last night's O'Reilly race that anybody has a clue what the heck is going to happen to this race. This Atlanta is becoming more and more unique. Andrew goes, it's been a rough last 2 days for DFS. Think we see more chaos tonight? I mean, everything is leaning towards complete chaos again. I mean, the truck race last year at Lime Rock had one caution for incident, and it happened to be, I think, on the last lap. This year, Lime Rock, literally everybody decided to destroy everybody else's truck. Then we go to the O'Reilly race last night, and I kid you not. So I'm always tracking like what percentage of drivers I have, what percentage the field has, and I'm always kind of just judging, hey, how's the end of this race potentially going to look for Draftkings? And usually I can tell if all of a sudden, a lot of my top percentage drivers are taken out, and I'm, either faded or I'm more heavy on the field. Then I can kind of go, okay, this is going to be kind of a break even, or I've got a good shot or potential to win, or this is going to be sunk. And last night I knew I was sunk in that O'Reilly race. It was insane. I'm trying to pull it up. Hold on one second. Let me find my... There it is. I'll pull this over and show you kind of what I do. Yeah, so as the race is going on, this is kind of what I'm looking at is after I build all my lineups, I pull my percentages in, then I usually take the uh, Chrome Horn contest that I'm in because that's got a pretty large sample size of everything. And as things begin to happen throughout the race, I'm marking them off. The red is they're wrecked out. Um, the yellow is they're wrecked but still racing and off pace. The dark blue is they've got a mechanical issue. Um, the lighter blue is they've got a mechanical issue, but they're still out there just trying to make it through. Um, you know, the orange, it really isn't a tire penalty. It's more of they have issues, but it's so late in the race you don't really know. And I just knew looking at this, going, there's just not there. I mean, most of the field was destroyed. Garrett Smitley, I think, finished 5th or 6th in that race last night. Garrett Smitley. I like Garrett. I think he's a lot of fun to watch on his streaming channels, and his social media is pretty good. He's a little bit of a goofball, but he was a lot of fun to watch back in 2020. And that's kind of how I got more involved into iRacing. Then I got into streaming, and then I kind of really started this channel. And I mean, part of it, I can kind of give credit to Garrett Smitley because I'm like, okay, if this goofball can go talk on live streams, I can do it. And honestly, that became what we got in Carson Hocevar. But that's how I got into doing this streaming bit and channel. Was kind of on a roundabout path through Garrett Smitley, as weird as that sounds, and through, of course, the 2020 debacle. But yeah, it's if Garrett Smitley's finishing 5th in a race, that there are serious issues going on. Because I mean, Garrett he doesn't race in the best equipment. And at times there are tracks where he's really good, and there are tracks where he's not so good. And at the super speedways opens the door for anybody, and I mean anybody, to end up having a top 10 or top 5 finish. That's why betting on these super speedway drafting style tracks is extremely difficult. DFS used to be fairly. It used to be you just stack the back, and that's still somewhat true for Daytona and Talladega. Atlanta has turned into a different hybrid beast of drafting intermediate tire wear handling. It's got a weird combination of about 4 or 5 different factors now, and as this track begins to continue to wear and age, it's going to continue to transition and change each and every race. But Cash Money says, I'll take you back to Sonoma, where I commented on the live stream. Suarez would perform great, let me down completely. So now he's yes. And I think I remember that I said Suarez would not perform well at Sonoma. Where did Suarez finish in that race? It wasn't good, I don't think, if I remember correctly. So many things have happened. Oops. Where was Sonoma? 1 second. Try to get there. Races. Why not have Sonoma updated? I don't. Thought I did though. That's weird. All right, I know where to go. Go to results. But yeah, I don't think Suarez finished well. Sonoma results. Yeah, Suarez finished 31st in that race. He was still running, but he was junk. You're right. I think I said that though. So yeah, I mean, that win that he got at Sonoma was just it just was what it was. I mean, he's not a great road course racer, but he's not a bad road course racer. And if the crew just happens to get him in the right position and his car's handling well, he'll end up with a pretty good finish. Fanman said this is the best race on the circuit now. It's definitely the most entertaining and the most exciting on the circuit. I will absolutely give that. Trying to pin down what the heck is going to happen is near impossible. I mean, the last race we had here, we had 57 lead changes. That's insane. But either way, let's do the quick part first, and then we'll get more into Atlanta and what to possibly expect. So do we stack the back today? I don't know. It's not a full stack the back day. Atlanta has not been that way over the last 4 races, really. But let me cover Chicagoland really quickly, and we'll get into the reason we're here. I'm really, really leaning towards. So I've got a really hectic, crazy end of July, first 3 weeks of August. 2 family trips, vacations. I'll still be here either on Saturday or Sunday doing the live stream and the breakdown. I'll be remote. We're going to see how well that goes because I'm not going to be able to take my AI computer with me because we're flying. But I'll have my laptop and I should be able to tailscale in to get all the information and get the fun graphics and all that fun stuff. So really shouldn't see too much of a change other than I will be remote. But after I get back, I'm going to start a Tuesday evening, hopefully short 45-minute video about what happened the prior weekend. So that way we can eliminate the little coverage of what happened last weekend because we're a week removed at this point. It's already passed. It's gone. Let's move on to the next one until we get back to that track, which sometimes is a year. So I think I'm going to do a Tuesday recap of what we talked about, who we liked, who we didn't like, where we missed, where we won, successes, any news that's kind of come out. So more of a recap of the weekend so we can kind of skip this. But JGR 123 at Chicagoland, who saw that coming at a 1.5 mile track? Toyota fast? JGR fast? No way. But either way, the Chicagoland optimal lineup: Briscoe, Byron, Wallace, Heim, Bowman, and Cindric. Somewhat predictable in a lot of ways, other than I would have thought that potentially, Denny Hamlin had 70.8 points, finished in third, led 30 laps, and had 54 fast laps, which is a little weird because typically it's reversed. It's typically laps led is more than fast laps, but it's Denny Hamlin. But he didn't fit the optimal lineup exactly where it needed to. So if you had Denny and you had taken out 1 or 2 of these guys to fit Denny, you still probably ended up with a decent day. I did end up winning the $2 tournament. I finished first in that. And then yesterday I did end up with all the chaos of the truck series. I did end up winning the $3 3 max tournament also. So I've had an up and down week and weekends. For a while, it's been you win one, you lose completely on the next, and that's part of DFS. Steven, I think, do you go by, what is your name on, did you change your name? No, what's going on? Did you change your name in Discord also? I think you did. I don't know what you were called. It just says S ... now. It used to be like, oh well, I can't remember. Either way, we'll get back to this. Sorry, covered that up. No, you didn't. Interesting. I thought. Oh, well, whatever. I'll talk to you on Discord later about it. Showing up different on my end now. But either way, let's see. What did you say? I was in second, just a couple points from first, with one dupe and the $4.20 max, the Chrome Horn one with 5 to go, and then you saw what happened. Still made money, but son of a gun. Yep, I'm telling you, until I think you were talking. That was the truck race that you're talking about, right? Or was that the O'Reilly race from last night? Cash Money says, I think it's probably best to avoid the top 10. Let me finish this. We'll get into it. But either way, Chicagoland pretty much kind of ended up happening the way I kind of thought it was going to. It's just if you ended up putting the right people in the right places is really what it came down to. And I had one lineup that was really great. The rest of them were mediocre. So I ended up finishing okay for the day. But it was just like the track. It's a cookie cutter. It's the 1.5 mile intermediate. Toyotas are fast. And then you just try to figure out who else is going to make up some space. All right. That's why I want to do a Tuesday one, so I don't get bogged down with that. All right. Either way, we are back at Atlanta, EchoPark Speedway. I will still always call it Atlanta. Sorry, EchoPark, for you spending a bunch of money to label this track. And maybe in 20 years, if you stick around that long, I'll start to call it the EchoPark Speedway, but it's always going to be Atlanta to me. Either way, we've got 3 stages, 260 laps, 60 laps in the first stage, 100 laps. I'm telling you, stages aren't going to matter. Tire wear and everything else and stupidity is going to bring out plenty of cautions. Always does, always will. We'll get a couple of green flag runs, but it won't really matter. Other tracks to compare to, Daytona and Talladega are the closest. You can put Michigan into this group now because Michigan is drafting style. It is handling style. Michigan's just much wider. It's kind of like the difference between Daytona and Atlanta comparing to Talladega and Michigan. They all kind of fit in a weird box. We just don't see the full-on 35 car deep, 3 wide pack racing at Atlanta for lap after lap after lap after lap. Handling makes a big deal. Drafting makes a big deal. Aero blocking makes a big deal. Tire wear makes a big deal. Fuel mileage makes a big deal. It's easy to get runs. It's easy to create runs. It's easy to make passes at Atlanta till you get to that top 3 spot. Then it's hopefully you've got a partner or a teammate to help you get around the next guy. Or you start to catch some lap traffic and the leader ends up having some issues with their air and it gives the second and third place guy a chance to make a run. So, oh, you were talking about the O'Reilly race. I mean, that was an absolute cluster. Freebird, what's up, buddy? Glad you could join in. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. All right, let's get into why we don't necessarily fully stack the back at Atlanta. And it's very important to kind of start to look at the last 4 optimal lineups. You have guys that come from the back. And the reason why this is different than Daytona and Talladega is we have 100 extra laps, which ends up meaning you have more fast laps, you have more laps led. Even though those get spread out across the field, there are more of those points. You also have the opportunity for laps led. Like Tyler Reddick led 53 laps, Briscoe led 27 laps. The laps led get spread, but they also end up having more of them. And it's not like, Chase Elliott leads 5 laps at Daytona, Kyle Larson leads 3, Denny Hamlin will lead 4. You'll get these little runs in these packs of where, we're going to see Joey Logano lead, 30, 40, 50 laps. We're going to see Ryan Blaney lead 30, 40, 50 laps. It's when those guys end up making pit stops, losing track positions, 2 tires, 4 tires, or whatnot, and they get mired back is when that starts to change. And then you got to go through the whole process of who's got the better handling car. We also, a lot of times, we don't see, because they're not running in this massive, tight 30-car draft, 3 wide, we still see accidents and pushes that go wrong or handling things that go wrong or tires end up blowing out. But a lot of times it doesn't take out 20 cars at one time. It takes out 2 or 3 at a time. The problem is we just get a lot of them. And a lot of times that'll happen mid-pack where the air is the most disturbed. So yes, stacking the back is still a big deal. And it's realistically 4 to 5 drivers that you want to pull for place differential. And place differential is anything over 10 positions. A dominator is anybody that's going to lead at least 30%, 40% of the race and have, 15, 20% fast laps. Then you've got just your strictly finishing position. And that's where, like, Tyler Reddick last year started first, finished first. Yes, he led 53 laps. He only had 61.85 points. He was, third on the board. So it's not absolutely necessary, but more times than not. So here's the example is Tyler Reddick starts first. So that's not a stack the back. The fall race from last year, Brad Keselowski starts 6th. Alex Bowman starts 9th. And a Chase Elliott starts 15th. Then you've got a 23rd, 31st, and 26th. So it's not everybody in the 30s. Then, when we look at the spring 2000... I hate my AI sometimes. I don't know why I put Daytona in here. It shouldn't have. I'll pull up the optimal and show it to you again. But then, the spring Atlanta race was a stack the back. So it happens, but it doesn't happen. And that's why I say this racetrack is so much more difficult to figure out because of that. So we want to look at the 2024 optimals. 2024 optimals. Yeah, let me pull this over. All right, so we're looking at this box here. So the 2024, we had Suarez that won that race. That was the 3 wide finish at the end with Ryan Blaney. I can't remember who finished 3rd, but there was 3 of them there. But you had Ryan Blaney that started on 6th, Austin Cindric that started in 8th. They led 31 and 32 laps. So, that made that optimal. And then the fall of 24 here, it's Austin Cindric starting in 5th, Joey Logano starting in 7th. So this is not just a stack the back and go. It's, you can run guys, and that's, like I said, this just opens up the door. Instead of having 38 drivers in the field and going, okay, it's Daytona or Talladega, I'm not touching anybody in the top 10, much less anybody in the top 15. So you eliminate, you're down to 25 drivers at that point. And then you just go, okay, the chances of a Cody Ware, a BJ McLeod, or whatever making the optimal are slim. So then you can eliminate a couple of them. So now you're down to 20 drivers. And if you're making 80 lineups, it's a little easier to hunt and peck and figure out. We literally just saw Garrett Smitley, who started in 26th or 28th yesterday. There was no way in heck I was putting Garrett Smitley in my lineup. Finishing 5th, and I haven't done the full breakdown because I was tired last night and got up this morning to get all this done. I would almost guarantee that Garrett Smitley was in the optimal lineup last night, which would be the first time I've ever seen Garrett Smitley in an optimal lineup. So to sit here and say that Cody Ware or BJ McLeod won't make the optimal lineup today, it's a little tough. Now, Chad Fincham, I'm tossing that one away. That one's just not going to happen. The 66 doesn't have the pit crew, and he doesn't have the knowledge of this track. He's never raced at Atlanta, new or old, ever. So I'm just throwing that one out. Steven says, I have always been Nadusk. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I'm new to you and haven't gone on Discord yet. Oh, so that is not you. Okay, interesting. Okay, cool. Well, make sure you join the Discord and go through it. But love your thoroughness, driver's breakdown. It seems that at Atlanta, lap leaders are usually spread out. To make optimal, you can't lose too much place differential. Yeah, I mean, the loss of place differential almost in all DFS, unless it's, Martinsville or Bristol, where they get, 400 or 500 laps. And, like a Denny Hamlin led 230 laps, did not finish first, still made the optimal lineup without an issue. And he had negative place differential. Now, it was only 1 or 2 spots, but I've seen, I think, Tyler Reddick at Darlington one year where he led, I don't know, like 150 laps, ended up losing like 15 spots of place differential because he had led so many laps it made up the difference, and it was fine. So that's why I said this track, it just makes it really tough because you can't just eliminate 15 drivers right out of the gate or 18 drivers, and now you have 20 that you go, okay. And then you go, okay, which of these drivers typically makes it to the end of these super speedway races? Like my guy, Kyle Larson, he's done better recently, had the worst luck ever at super speedways. He couldn't sniff a top 20 if he wanted to. Now he's gotten a little bit more consistent, but he still has that tendency. He's just aggressive is all it is. And then you got drivers like Carson Hocevar, who are the Chaos King, the Hurricane, will end up that you could just go, he's going to wreck half the field, including himself, and he ends up finishing top 5 almost every time at this racetrack. Suarez seems to be really good at this racetrack. I'm not saying that either one of those guys are what needs to happen, but there's a reason I put Carson Hocevar front and center for this. He's got one of the best average finishes. Chase Elliott, great in Atlanta, home track, ends up finishing well. Tyler Reddick actually has a really good average finish here. So those are the things that you start to look at. Freebird says, hey, at the end of the video, will you give us your 6 and why? Might be a good segment. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's going to be when we go through the calculator. That's where the calculator will be the telltale sign. It's, those 6 to 10 drivers that on the calculator I have left at the top will be probably the 6 or 10 that I like the best. The question is how does it end up fitting in? How does the lineup build end up happening? And yes, absolutely. If you look at these optimal lineups, there's a very important piece down here. That's how much money is left over. $2,200 left over. Well, that's Daytona. Atlanta from the spring of 2025, $3,400. The earlier this spring, $3,900. $2,000. So we don't have as big of a swing as we did at Daytona. If we look at the fall of 2024, $2,000 left over and $600 left over. So it's not as big as Daytona. Like you can look right here in Daytona. I mean, there's 4,600. I've seen $14,000 left over in salary cap when it comes to Daytona and Talladega. It's typically not that big at Atlanta. It can be. Typically, it's not though. What's up, Jigga Josh? I'll just call you Josh. How's that? Happy race day. Yes, another fabulous race day. We've got plenty of time to get this video in, even though I know I spend like 3 hours blabbing. You'll still have plenty of time to get your lineups set for tonight. And same thing for next week. We will be... Ooh, hold on. I fly out next Sunday morning. So that could throw things for a curve. What is the schedule for next week? Before we get to the end, let me just look at that. Schedule at North Wilkesboro. Weekend schedule is... Oh. So I'll be live Saturday morning, not Sunday morning. That works out really well because I'm flying on Sunday. What time do they qualify, though? Are they qualifying Saturday also? Friday. Jayski has all this, by the way, if you're ever looking. Let's see. Rookie meeting. Trucks. Cars tour. That's all Friday. Saturday. Trucks. Garage hours. Practice and qualifying. That is Saturday. Is the race on Sunday? The race is on Sunday. It is a night race, though. All right. So that's going to throw things kind of wonky. Let's see. What time do they... Great. They practice and qualify at 5 and 7. 2 hours. I should be able to hopefully go live Saturday night, 9 o'clock. Yeah. Something will happen. Stay tuned. I'll post on Discord and on the YouTube community page on exactly what my schedule is looking like for next week. So, all right, let's get into Atlanta. So, I have like 4 AI agents, and I asked the one that is linked up with my Hermes agent and said, because it has all of my data and information from all the previous races. I said, okay, give me a infographic of a rundown for my video and tell me who was good and who was bad. This was before qualifying. And this is just literally who does well and who doesn't. And it brought back this. And I thought this was kind of interesting, kind of cool. The drivers who thrived. Hocevar has a 2nd, 10th, and a 4th over those 3 races. Best consistency. Reddick was a spring winner right after Daytona. We knew that. Elliott, hometown hero. His last win was the spring of 2025. Wallace does well in the stages. Zane Smith finishes well in the stages. Briscoe, P2 from 34th and earlier this spring. And if Stenthouse stays clean, he's also really good. So I just thought this was kind of interesting. And then this shows you the lead changes. 50 lead changes in the spring of 25, 46 in the fall summer of 25, and then a 57 track record earlier this year. The drivers that have had trouble, Byron, Logano, Blaney, Bell, and mid-pack restarts kill. Stage 1 does not equal... The stage 1 win does not equal typically the winner. So, kind of interesting to look at. And if you remember last time, Tyler Reddick ended up winning that race with a missing front right quarter panel. But this price came up before qualifying. And Tyler Reddick's the most expensive driver. I would not have put him as the most expensive driver, but he's there. I would have put Blaney or Logano as the more expensive drivers, but now that Reddick is starting 31st, that's a huge amount of place differential. Steven says, Mark, do you have a membership to join? I would love to help. I do not have any memberships currently, and I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm hoping to get to that point sometime, but honestly, I do this as much for myself as I do to potentially make money, and it's really not to make money. About the most I'm looking for is to potentially cover the cost at this point, because the AI cost to get all this built out, which I would probably do regardless. I'm just looking if I could recover some of that, and it's not bad. I think it's $150, $170 a month for all of my AI usage, and that's when you look at AI and the cost of it, it's really not that bad. So, and I don't actually max it out. I used to max it out, but I've got systems in place now that don't max it out. So I appreciate that. And eventually that would be great. I'd love to be able to get this channel up to, 1,000 subscribers, get it monetized and all of that. And that would help out. But once again, if you can go back and listen to any of my videos, I don't do this to be internet famous or be some whatever. If it happens, I'm not going to complain, but I'm not doing this to have a, 100,000 person audience and any of those types of things. I do it as much for myself before I start to build lineups, because I really start to drill down and think about, why would I want this person, not necessarily Atlanta, but in general, why would I want Tyler Reddick at a 1.5 mile track? Well, the consistencies, the numbers, why does Draftkings or the betting market have a certain driver priced the way they do when I'm not seeing that in my graphics? And that's where I start to see potential fades and potential gains. This week we didn't have any practice, and I hate that. I wish we had practice at all these super speedways. I don't care if they go out and use it or not, but yesterday we saw three cars that had major issues that if they had 10 laps of practice, they would have easily figured out they had some small mechanical issue happening. And that would have been 3 less cautions that we would have had at the O'Reilly race from last night. So like last week, nailed it perfectly. Pat on the back to me. I know, self-praise stinks, but I called it out as soon as I saw the Front Row Motorsports practice laps. I said, they're awful. They unloaded awful. They suck. And I think by lap 50 or 60, Noah Gragson comes on the radio and goes, we are absolutely garbage. This sucks. We suck. He went on a tirade. And I was like, dude, I saw that in your practice laps. And that's why I stayed away from him, even though he was a great potential place differential. But I saw in his practice laps, they were awful. So it's those types of things that if I had not dug into those practice laps, had not seen everything, it would have easily been, oh, Noah Gragson. He's a good name. He's starting 34th. Okay. Good place differential. I need a cheap guy with place differential. I'll put him in. You're more than welcome. I appreciate you tuning in. The nicest thing you could do is make sure you're subscribed and hit the like button. Join us over on Discord. It's a small little community, but we're growing. And tell your friends, anybody else that watches it. And I appreciate you tuning in. The schedule's going to get a little wonky over the next few weekends with summer travel and all that type of stuff. But once again, I do this for free, and family comes first. I do enjoy doing it and want to stay consistent. But yeah, I appreciate you tuning in. All right, so what do we have here? We don't have practice. All we have is Tyler Reddick, 10,500, most expensive guy on the board, starting in 31st. Great. What are his averages? Well, he got this win here in the spring, and these are all the last 5 races at Atlanta, which is the new Atlanta with the next gen car. Good information, great data to pull from. I mean, he's got a 41.7 DraftKings average, and that's kind of something to put in the back of your mind as we go through these drivers to remember where that DraftKings average was. This is also going to be on the website and the calculator and all of that. So you can go there now. It's live, it's updated, and it should be working. We're going to find out real quick here in a second. It was working earlier this morning when I was getting Claude to update it. But a 15.4 average running position. His best finish over the last 5 races, and this is something that Claude put in, and I was like, why'd you do that? And then I was like, you know what? I actually like it. So I left it. The best finish over the last 5 Atlanta races was first, of course. And that was the last race, which was just, 6 months ago. He finished in first. Full track history. Now, this will encompass old and new Atlanta. It's just easier to continue building off of it, and it'll eventually change, because this track is going to end up aging to a point that it's not going to be recognizable to the old Atlanta or the new Atlanta. As this track surface begins to wear, it is going to become a wild track to watch. It's going to end up being a lot like the old Texas Speedway until they knock down turns 1 and 2. But average finish here, 16.4 with 1 win, 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s over his full race history. He has done much better with the new configuration. Yeah, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate you tuning in. And what's up, Lost Prophet? Good seeing you this weekend. Are you playing much this weekend, or are you going light? Because this could be big, or it could be a really bad weekend. I'm playing my normal. I'm still going heavy. Now I'm also playing with a lot of house money, so why not? Ryan Blaney, 10,200. The Penske cars and the Fords in general are really good at these super speedways when it comes to speed. You start to look back at how they finish, though, and they can't seem to get these things finished up correctly. And that is true at Talladega, at Daytona, and here at Atlanta. They have unbelievable speed, almost to a fault, because they can't seem to ever finish these things consistently or get a win. Lost Pro says, man, I've been getting brutalized lately. Yeah, it has been a fairly tough go at it recently. I was max entering the woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! You were max entering the $20 for a while, not this race though. I mean, I'm definitely not suggesting you do it, because you're so maxing out the $20. If anybody's trying to figure that out, it's 150 entries at $20 a pop. That's we got a whale in the chat. But if you're playing with house money, you're playing with house money, and once you start to play with house money, you can take a lot more chances. And I've done that. And if one of those hit, you end up with a lot more house money, which gives you the availability to play even more wild. It's when the house money starts to dry up that you go, oh, I got to play a little more conservative. And not max out the $150, $20 entry. But if you hit that, I mean, what's today's top prize for that? 100 grand if you end up hitting it? 50,000 to first. Yeah. But, what is that? 20, times 150. I mean, 3,000 in. If you hit first, 50 grand. You just made $47,000. You go buy a brand new car for that. So yeah, only 14,000. Yeah, there's only 14,000 entries, and you're going to put 150 of them in. I mean, it's what, 1% of the entries. Where what's the Chrome Horn at right now? 27,000 people, I think. Yeah, Chrome Hornet's 24,000, give or take, compared to 14. But the top prize for that is top prize is $7,500, but you only have $80 in compared to 3,000. So it's give or take, it's up or down. So yeah, but Ryan Blaney starting in first. Oh, we completely forgot to put old Tyler Reddick on the calculator. All right. If you're new to this, go to racinginthedraft.com, go over to the right-hand side to the DK calculator. And you can start to really understand what place differential does, what finishing position does, what dominator, and laps led, and fast laps actually get you when you're building your lineups. And this part of everything, coming up with this and having it on the website, in my opinion, became a complete game changer for me. Now, the most important thing that you have to remember, I continually pound this into people's heads, so anybody that's not new here has been seeing this a couple times, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, you say this every week. But yeah, because we've got new people who show up, and I don't want them to make the mistake. Once you start to build this out, just don't leave. Don't click on blog. Don't click on home. Don't click the X button and close it, because once you do, it's gone. You have to kind of keep this up, and God forbid, hopefully you don't lose power. So, but either way, so on this page we got lots of information, and it's a lot of the same information that I have on my main PowerPoint presentation that I use over here. So, pull that back up. We've got this is all Tyler Reddick's information. Wins, top fives, and this is the same track, the last 5. So this is the last 5 Atlanta races. This over here is the last 5 trend, and that includes Daytona and Talladega. So a lot of times they're fairly similar, but we have an average finish. So average running position of 15.4. The best finish is first. Worst finish is 30th. Average fast laps of 3.4. Now, the nice thing is it already calculates the averages into here, and then 14 average laps led. Now, starting in 31st, it's going to be a little more difficult to get to the front to lead laps, but super speedway, drafting style track, it's actually much easier to do than starting 31st and trying to get that at Martinsville. I would say you're not leading any laps, more than likely. But here's where the calculator starts to come in. And let me pull one more thing up real quick, because I haven't quite figured out how to get this. I used to show this on my previous, before I had the AI building out my PowerPoints. And this is each race and how price is thrown out. This is all starting position and the top 6 endpoints. It's not optimal lineup, because you could literally have the most expensive drivers all at the top and it won't fit into a lineup. This is just positions, and the driver really doesn't matter. This is where positions came from and their starting order and how many Draftkings points they got. And this draws a line in the sand for me that tells me, as we pull this over, so this here is what, if price was no matter. The top 6 would be the optimal lineup, and that would be this row here. And it's, as you can see, it's 51 points, 60 points, 60 points, 53 points, or 53 points. Now everything gets averaged out down here. Now the top 6 do not average. The top 15 does get averaged. So that tells me that it's going to take at least 55 points, maybe 60 points, for a driver to make it in the optimal. Not a guarantee, but if a driver goes and gets 55, 60 points, I know that they're going to end up having a good day. Now, I like to also look at the top 15, because when I start to build my lineups, because I build for large field tournaments. I do some small, which is much more of a cash build, but I build, I do 150 lineups now with the 50 cent tournament. I do 4 of the 20 max tournaments, and then I hand build about half of them, and then I have the optimizer build the others. But I'm still hand building roughly 60 to 80 lineups on a weekend. And I like to know, okay, how do I get to my core 15, and what's the point total? And this tells me what that point total is for the top 15. It's 32 points, 41 and a half, 31 and a half, 40, 37.15. So the average is 36 points. And that really comes in handy when you start to use the calculator. So 35 to 55 points is the sweet spot for the top 15 and above. Now, the optimal for Atlanta is going to be that 55, 60 point range. And that's where we're looking to get to. Price does not make a difference this weekend. Just remember that. That's very important. Price does not make a difference this weekend. This also tells me that this is still a place differential race. It's not necessarily a stack to back, but it is a place differential. It's 10 spots of place differential on average, which is big. If we go and look at, let me see, Las Vegas, it's 6. Darlington, 7.2. Charlotte, it's 6.6. And then where's like a Martinsville? Martinsville's a 4.7. Atlanta is 10.8. For retrospect, Talladega is 11.2. Daytona is 11.4. So we don't have as much place differential at Atlanta as we do Daytona and Talladega, but it's more than a typical mile and a half and way more than a short track. So that's why this becomes kind of a hybrid of sorts. Hopefully that makes sense. Pull you guys back up. See what you're saying. Nope, nothing. Nothing new. Are we still online? I'm not seeing anything. Somebody hit me up in the chat. Are we still running live? Or did I crash? I'm not real sure. Hey, okay. Looks like we're still live. I don't know why it's... All right. I don't know, something... Yeah, it's been a work in progress, that's for sure. Yay, cool. Glad we're still live. I don't know why my little bar chart's not flowing anymore, which is usually strange. It usually tells me that, but I see we still have 30 concurrent viewers. So 30 people out there, make sure you hit the like button. I appreciate it. All right. All right. So with this calculator, so we have all this information, and we know where the point total needs to be. It needs to be that 55-60, And not if Tyler Reddick ended up with a 49.9 day, that's going to be a solid 15, top 15. It's definitely somebody I'm going to want to potentially look at. Now, being top of the board, starting 31st, everybody's going to be like, he's a shoo-in, I'm taking him. Well, look what happened with Jordan Anderson. And yes, Jordan Anderson still had something like 18 spots of place difference because he started 38th, but he wrecked out. Now, he still was in the winning lineup for one of the main lineups. And I was like, how did that even happen? But he was not. Like, I would guarantee that Garrett Spitley outscored Jordan Anderson. And Jordan Anderson was 57, 58% owned. So what does it look like for Tyler Reddick to get to that 55 points? Well, he's starting 31st. Can he get up and lead some laps? Sure. But honestly, in my head, I'm picturing the story that I am writing in my head on how this race ends up going. Blaney leads for a large handful. Joey Logano leads for a large handful. Then we start to get into this weird mix after they start doing cautions and tire strategies and fuel strategies and 2 tires and 4 tires and whatever. We're going to start to see that begin to change. So, can Tyler Reddick get up and lead some laps? Sure. I'm not going to discount that completely, but I'm going to lower it down by half. Instead of 14, I'm going to bring it down to 7. Now, the fast laps, I think most anybody can have 3 to 4 fast laps. Those get spread out because of the draft. Who you've got as a drafting partner, are you being pushed? Is your car handling well enough? It's going to get spread out. It gets spread out like that for Atlanta, Daytona, Talladega, and Michigan. Gets thrown into that mix. All depends on who you have as a drafting partner, if you have a drafting partner. So, with all that being said, what position at this point now do I need Tyler Reddick to get to for that 55 to 60 point range? Now, once you get it to the optimal range, it's going to highlight it and say optimal is cleared. So it's a 31st to 9th, 7 laps led, 4 fast laps. That's where you. And now, does that end up fitting the story that you're telling yourself? Tyler Reddick, the last 4 weeks, has had really bad luck. Does that bad luck continue this week? He did qualify 31st. That's a little on the slow side. Now, they literally don't have practice. They literally unload and they go run. But Tyler Reddick won this race in the spring. They should have brought a fast car. The Toyotas in general seemed a little bit off. Fords seemed to be really fast. And if anybody happened to be listening to the broadcast last night for the O'Reillys, and if you haven't, go back and rewatch it. There are nuggets of information that Denny Hamlin was on the broadcast with the guys at the CW. There are not just nuggets, there are gold mines of information. And listening to Denny Hamlin, like him or don't like him, listening to his podcast every week, there's more knowledge and more information that comes in handy on how to use that information to figuring out DraftKings or betting or just who to like and who not to like. He is a huge amount of knowledge base, plain and simple. And he was dead right. Especially in the O'Reilly series, the Toyotas were not good. They were not handling well. And he talks about the Toyotas were still having the issue even in the Cup car, he felt, when qualifying happened. But he felt much more stable, just didn't have raw speed. And they also talked about in the qualifying for the Cup race yesterday with William Byron. And William Byron's team actually said, we do not expect to have a good qualifying run. Our car is set up for the race, for handling in the draft, handling the aero, and being much more stable. Now, what that equates to, it's a little hard to tell. But that's why William Byron qualified 26. And reading between the lines on what Denny was saying, that's why the Toyotas did not show raw speed for qualifying. They are setting their cars up for great balance and long-term speed. So all of that matters, and that comes into play. Now, does Tyler Reddick end up coming through the field and I'll just pick on Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson blow a tire in front of him and wreck him? Sure. Stuff like that happens all the time. Can't help it. But when you build your lineups, now Connor Zilic, you can probably put into that pathway because he just has. I'm not sure how you get rid of that bad luck. It's just awful. But Tyler Reddick's kind of had similar bad luck. So what I'm saying is, I like the Tyler Reddick play. He's going to be extremely chalky. He's going to be in that 40, 45, 50% ownership range. Plain and simple. Do you fade off of it? Do you go even? Or do you go more? I'm going to be I'm going to have it. I'm probably going to be even to slightly underweight on the field with the builds. Fords are showing up today if they don't wreck. And that's the whole key is, and that's what I'm taking from when I hear Denny Hamlin talk about the raw speed that the Fords have, but maybe they're giving up handling characteristics that may come in to be very crucial later. And this is where it's not a stack the back philosophy per se. It's, can Ryan Blaney or Joe Logano end up leading and having enough fast laps to be able to overtake a Tyler Reddick coming from 31st to 9th that doesn't have that? Because right off the gate, so I'm going to lock this in at a 9th. It's a 60.6. It puts him in the optimal. Sure. Okay. But the Ryan Blaney one, we're going to look at right immediately after. For Ryan Blaney, let's say he does end up first to first. He's going to need to lead 30 laps? No, he's going to need to lead how many laps? To get the same thing, Ryan Blaney would need to start in first, finish in first, lead 50 laps, and have 6 fast laps. And yes, the fast laps are not a 2-to-1 or even 3-to-1. They are much more spread out. But if Ryan Blaney has any type of issue and he finishes 5th, now how many laps does he need to lead? 90. Still possible, but because we saw 57 lead changes the last race, 46 the one before that, and 50 the one before that, the more likely that he's not going to go and lead 90 laps. The probability is very small. And that's what you have to continue to build yourself and remind yourself of. Can Ryan Blaney end up being in the optimal lineup? Absolutely. Can he end up winning this race? Absolutely. I'm going to put it at a 5 to 10% chance. So where does that put my ownership of a Ryan Blaney? Probably about there. Probably 5%. It's not a full-on absolute fade. I'm not going to touch him, but I'm going to be very selective. And when I do make that build, I'm probably going to build it with the rest of the Penske's or with the rest of the Fords. That's how I'm going to build it. But that's the difference of how does this end up looking? I mean, so remember, Tyler Reddick had a 41.2 DraftKings average. Ryan Blaney has a 32.2 at Atlanta. Best finish of 2nd, worst finish of 40th. Average fast laps of 4, average laps led of 14. I mean, he pretty consistent about finishing top 5, top 10. So just not a whole lot of wins. So I'm going to be kind of more in that like 8th place finish, maybe 50 laps led, because he is starting from the pole, but I think that's actually being generous. I think it's much more of a 35 and 4, which gives us a 39.6. So once you lock this in, now that you have these two, you can now, so once again, don't go up here, go here. Calculator, rankings, optimizer. You can now go to the rankings and you can see what these have. Once you have this built out, you can download this in case something does happen to your system, and then you've got it. But this is how we're going to come up with my top 6 or top 10. Is the calculator is going to take care of it, and the rankings are going to be there. That also transfers over to the optimizer. So, now I've got Tyler Reddick projected at 60.6. If we go back over here to calculator, if I change this and I go back to optimizer, it's now 49.9. So these two talk to each other, and then your projections will change because of it. The projections that are already there are what the averages are. When you change the calculator to 9th and 7.3 and a lock, it now changes the optimizer to 60.2. So that's how that works. And then you don't have to use the optimizer. It's there if you'd like to do large tournament builds. Steven says at Atlanta, you don't need the fastest car. You want the car that handles all the different Air Force. Yes, that is absolutely true. A fast car is always helpful, but it's not the most important factor in my opinion, because the track surface is aging and we don't really know how that's going to handle because we didn't have practice. God, I hope they bring practice back for Atlanta next year. We don't know how long these tires are gonna wear and what that ends up doing to the car. That's the big, we don't know what may happen. We don't know in 10 laps the rubber's going to fall off these cars and they're going to start wrecking. We don't know if the tires are rock hard and they can run 80 laps. We just don't know, because this track surface, if anybody remembers, before they made the change to this track, and I hate it, but I like it, old Atlanta was the worst track for tire wear, meaning the best track for tire wear. It destroyed tires. 3 laps in, you were half a second to a second slower than your fastest lap. 7 or 8 laps in, you're 2 seconds slower. The same thing is happening to Atlanta now. The aggregate that's in the pavement is starting to really take a toll on tires. What's that going to look like? We don't know, because we didn't have practice. And that's what the big variable becomes. And that's why I say this is going to be potentially a wild race. Now, maybe Ryan Blaney's out front and never gets caught up in any of it and has no problems. Ryan Blaney's also really good at tire conservation. He's really good at fuel mile conservation. All of those things. That's why I say there's a 5 to 10% chance Ryan Blaney wins this thing. And he leads 90 laps. That's why I think you can't just stack the back for Atlanta, which now opens the door to 37 drivers that could make your lineup. And that's why this becomes even more difficult. But Ryan Blaney, 32.2 Draftkings average, 13.5 average running position. His full track history, he's better than an average finish of 10th, which is phenomenal. And that's old and new. So Ryan Blaney's really good here. It does have a win, but it's not in the next, at least not in the last 5 races. But in those 5 races, his best finish is 2nd. And he finished 10th here last fall. So back to the calculator real quick again. We're first The average is 14th. I think he gets a top 10. Maybe we'll put him in 8th. And I think he does lead 25 laps. He probably has 4 fast laps. I don't have a problem with that. What did I say? 39.6? That was 30 laps, I think. That's 40. That's close enough. So that's a 40-point day. Well, if you go back to remember, what's my top 15? 36, 34, 35, 36 points. So this still puts Ryan Blaney into my top 15 core group. Or if anything, subcore is probably where he'll end up falling. And it'll be in very distinct lineups. Like I said, it'll be a Penske build, it'll be a Ford build, that type of thing. So, score lock, clicked update. Kyle Larson's going to be next on our list here. Take a look over here. At Atlanta, okay, yeah, we talked about that. Hey, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I appreciate everyone tuning in on a wonderfully bright and early Sunday morning. Oh, yeah, by the way, I hope the weather stays away at Atlanta. And anybody else out there that is dealing with all sorts of crazy weather. I mean, Eastern Tennessee is getting clobbered. Kentucky is getting clobbered with rain. I saw New Orleans got just drenched. So I'm not sure if Family Man is still in here, but I know you live outside New Orleans and guys have already had 2 or 3 bouts of flooding this year. Hopefully the weather has stayed away a little bit for you. South Carolina has been inundated in and around the Charleston area where my dad lives. They're more used to it. The water runs off into the ocean pretty quick, so no real big deal there. But I hope everybody that's in path of weather, I mean, the Northeast has been clobbered too. So it's been a crazy year so far. And then I live in Richmond where we just get 100-degree days every day and might as well be a desert at this point. Either way, weather is a potential that could change how you potentially build. I'm going to build it the same way. I'm going to build it to where this race is going to go all 260, but we could go 160 or 130 and it'd be done. Rain happens and that makes this build end up being more like a Talladega or Daytona. That's all I am saying. The race also includes some good season head-to-head challenges. Bowman versus Gilliland. I'll take Bowman. Chase versus Chase. I'll take Elliott. Blaney versus Byron. I'll take Byron. I think Byron's car's set up for the long run. I think Blaney ends up getting screwed by his pit crew. And Bell versus Hamlin. Both of them are terrible here. But Bell needs a little bit of good luck. So I think Hamlin's just looking to survive. But yeah, there are some really good matchups for the in-season tournament for this race. But remember last year was the first race of that, Jason. It was complete chaos. Kyle Larson starting in 3rd. Oh my. I do not like it. But you know what? This is a perfect opportunity for Kyle Larson to break the streak and go get a win. Very doubtful. He has an average running position of 16.2. He's only finished once in the top 5, twice in the top 10 over the last 5 races. A whopping 10.9 Draftkings average. His best finish over the last 5 races is 3rd, and he finished 32nd in this race last year. He just does not have good luck when it comes to these super speedways. Plain and simple. Recently, it's gotten better. But starting in 3rd, more than likely, I'm probably a full-out fade on Larson, to be perfectly honest. I could easily get behind the argument of he's due, he's had a tough go. Yeah, he had the championship last year. But he's been consistent about finishing in the top 5, top 10 until last week. Does he get out and lead some laps? Yeah, I think so. Because his crew is that good. His crew chief is that good. I think there is a potential he gets out and leads 5, 10, 15 laps. The question is, does he do what Kyle Larson always does at these super speedways and either be in the wrong spot or end up wrecking? I don't know. So honestly, I'm going to probably leave it at this average of 16. Go from 3rd to 16, but you'll get some laps led. You'll have some fast laps. I could easily argue that his luck is improved. He'll get a top 5. Great. So what is that actually going to look like? 43.1. It's clears the 33, 34 point line, but not by much. But honestly, even being a Kyle Larson fan, I'm going to lock him in at a 15 lead laps. And honestly, it's either going to be way better than this or way worse than this. So there's the average. All right, next in line here, Chase Elliott, 9,900, starting in the 7th position. He does have 1 win over the last 5 Atlanta races. He has 2 total Atlanta wins in his 15 total starts. And in the last 5 races, he's got a 12th place average running position, 44 Draftkings average. Remember, Tyler Reddick was at 41.7. So the new DraftKings average leader is Chase Elliott. 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 5 top 20s over the last 5 races here. He's good here. I mean, he's kind of like an Austin Hill in the O'Reilly series. He's good and he's consistent. I'm going to lock him in for at least a 5th place finish. And Chase Elliott's, unless he, and this is not the track that he goes and does this at, because nobody will do it really, other than maybe Blaney or Logano, and go out and lead a bunch of laps. I think he might lead some, kind of like Larson. I think he goes and leads some because he always tends to run kind of in this front end middle pack group. He'll have some fast laps. We'll give him 5. So I think a 7th to a 5th is perfectly fine. It's going to put him second on my board out of 4. I mean, board needs to fill up a lot faster. And that'll end up fading because we've got some really good place differential drivers that are going to be chalky. And that's there is a lineup that's out there that is extremely chalky. Will I run it? Yeah, probably. I just will expect to be tied with 200 other people. It's that chalky. And it includes this guy, William Byron, starting in the 26th position. And this is why they have decided to set this car up the way they said they set this car up. Now, my only worry and fear is you're in the middle of the muck. And being in the middle of the muck could possibly be disastrous. Being out front or being all the way in the back, you can either just go, you know what, I'm just going to run a third of a lap behind everybody and wait for all the accidents to happen, and then at the end of the race, show up. You know, the Cody Ware type of strategy. That's not going to be really what William Byron's going to do. He's going to be out there. He's going to want to make it to the front. My opinion. But a 10.2 DraftKings average, 13.5 average running position with a 10.2 DraftKings average, that means you ran really well while you were there, and then once you weren't running, because the average running position is not the average position. The average running position is if things are green and I'm not in the garage, I'm going to be running around 13th. Average finish of 20th. This includes some of the old style tracks. But in the last 5 races, his best finish is 9th, and last year he finished in 28th. So what does that look on the calculator? William Byron, 26. Now he's going to be chalky because it's William Byron. He's had pretty good success over the last few weeks. Starting to be back on everybody's mind. It's a Hendrick car, super speedway drafting style track. He'll have plenty of teammates and friends out there. So, yeah, we'll move him to a 7th place finish. Once again, I don't know how many laps you end up leading, but probably maybe a couple. So we'll go 5 and 3. Puts him to a 58.7. It's not quite as high as Tyler Reddick, but it's easily really close to being in that optimal line. And all it would take really is finishing 6. So that's the difference between 6th and 7th is 2 points. So, and that's why this DFS NASCAR stuff is so hard to get figured out and right. I mean, to win one of these large tournaments, there is some skill, but it's 95% luck, 5% skill. So yeah, did I lock that in? Yeah, I always want to hit the lock button, 58.7. And you come over here to the ranking, and you can now see Tyler Reddick first, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, and we'll continue to build. All right, for our next super chalky driver, Christopher Bell, starting 32nd. So we have a 31st, a 26th, and a 32nd. All drivers, really good manufacturers, really good teams, could easily make their way to the front. Do they? I don't know. We'll see. Chris Bell does have a win here in the last 5 Atlanta races. There's a plus. And it's a Toyota. Set it up for the long run. Have a good balanced car. Now, it's kind of checkers or wreckers. It's the 2 races he did well at. He finished inside the top 5. The other 3, 21st or worst. One of them was spring earlier this year. 22.7 average running position. And a 37.9 Draftkings average. Not bad. Starting at 32nd, once again, it's going to be super chalky. I like it, though, but it's going to be pretty chalky. I'm going to put him down for an 11th. And probably not, maybe 2 laps led. I'm probably going to put him more at 4 fast laps, 2 laps led, 56.3, lock him in. Joey Logano. So we go from the back to the front, to the back to the front. Joey Logano, starting in 2nd. Like I said, the Penske's unloaded fast, which is unusual because usually 1.5-mile tracks, they suck, but on drafting style tracks, they're fast. Or they're going to have mishandling cars and they're going to wreck and do what Penske and Fords do with these things. Now, Joey Logano does have a win here in the last 5 races. 13.8 average running position, but a 19.2 DraftKings average. Remember, what was it? Chase Elliott was at 44 DraftKings average. They both have wins in the last 5 races. What's the difference? One ends up finishing okay most races, and one does not. So, risk versus reward here. I'm going to if I put Ryan Blaney at a 5 to 10% chance of winning, I'm going to put Joe Logano a 1 to 5% chance. Now, I also think Joe Logano has a tendency to lead a lot of laps. What he likes to do here in Atlanta. And maybe Ryan Blaney goes, show me the way, master. And I will save my stuff and save my tires and follow you in 2nd all the way through, or I'll push you all the way through. Which one takes the lead? I don't know. They're starting side by side. And I'm sure they've already worked it out somewhere that, hey, Blaney, you got the pole. You get the lead for the first caution. If we're still both side by side, you let me lead this time. And they'll just do that. So I think this lap lead of 39 is not outrageous. Now, I think the finish is probably about right. We'll go with lucky number 13 for Joe Logano because he is just so lucky. And everybody knows he's not my favorite driver. I cannot stand Joe Logano. But I try to keep that bias to myself. Even though I just said it live on a YouTube channel. Either way. So I'm going to lock him in at a 30.7. It's not going to be my top 15. It's not going to really be subcore at best. It'll be, if I'm looking at potentially running a Ford lineup and a couple of chalky players, that's kind of how that ends up getting built. All right, next in line here, Denny Hamlin, 9,100, starting in 28th, our next potential really chalky driver. But Denny's not good here. He has not been good on drafting style tracks in the next gen era. Andrew says Logano lived at Atlanta. Maybe why he's so good. Yes, he lived in turn 1 condos when he was first cutting his teeth and raced bandoleros around the short course on the inside. Really neat interview with him talking about his roots at Atlanta. And yes, it is why he's good here. The Penske's and Fords are always good at these drafting style tracks. They're always fast. But fast doesn't always equate to wins. Like I said, this is 90% luck, 10%. What is that song, anyways? 80% luck, 10% chance, 10% talent, or something. I can't remember what the rap song is that talks about that, but this is 80% luck. Honestly, it's 80% luck for this track. There is some skill, and Joey Logano probably has one of the best skill talents for Atlanta, partially because he used to live at the track. Denny Hamlin was like the best of Daytona. Why? Denny had just a great gut feeling reaction and would get himself he would stay out of trouble. That's how he won all the races. And he admits that. He goes, I get the sinking feeling something bad's about ready to happen, and I back out, and it does. A lot of times you can get that sixth sense of like, they're starting to get a little nutty. They're starting to get a little more risky, or the cars are starting to mishandle. Don't really want to be out in the middle of this muck. I'm going to back out and run, quarter of a lap behind everything. And Denny Hamlin did that a couple of times and ended up winning a Daytona. Now, Atlanta's not been kind to him. It's not been awful. 6th in the spring race earlier this year. 13th earlier this year, and his best in the last 5 races is 6. Does not have a top 5. But starting 28th, we don't need him to have a top 5. I need Denny Hamlin to go and finish 7th. I mean, if he finishes 7th, it's optimal. Now, I don't know if he has 5 laps led. Maybe. But we're going to back that down to 3, and we'll give him 5 fast laps. Still, that's 61.6. If you think it's going to be 9th or 10th, we'll give him a 10th. 55 points. He's going to be super chalky. So right out of the gate, we've got Tyler Reddick, chalk. William Byron, chalk. Bell, chalk. Denny Hamlin, chalk. We got a lot of chalky drivers up top. So pick 3 and build the rest out. Pick 3 more, build out what you can with place differential, or if you think maybe Suarez or Austin Dillon or somebody end up running well and finishing well, put them with them. This build is absolutely insane. This build is going to be absolutely insane. Too many variables, in my opinion. It's going to be luck that ends up winning this thing. And don't worry about tying with somebody. This is now, if you run what we talked about already with the chalk, yeah, you'll end up in a tie. That's probably not going to end up being how this ends up playing out, though. The chalk very rarely ever wins DFS. It's the sleeper. It's taking a Chris Buescher starting in 13th, putting him in your lineup, and he finishes 2nd. He didn't win. He didn't do a whole lot, but because he finished 2nd and had a bunch of fast laps, it ends up paying off. I don't know. I'm just throwing the name out there. But Chase Briscoe is a guy in front of us now. 8,900 starting in 20th. Decent qualifying, right in the middle of the pack. Could also be right in the middle of the muck. But his luck here has not been great. 21.1 average running position, an 11.9 Draftkings average. His best finish was earlier this spring in 2nd. Not great. Starting in 20th. How do we end up building that out? Maybe he gets to 15th. he could win this race too. I mean, does he lead 6 laps? I'm going to put him down for 2. The four fast laps, that's almost everybody in the field is going to have, 80% of the field is going to have at least 4 fast laps. Just it's the way that these drafting tracks run. Now, he goes and finishes in first at 66.3 points. Is it much more likely that he's 12th? Probably. Honestly, I think I'm going to give him 6, 54.3. But once again, decently chalky. He's not going to be as chalky as Bell, Byron, or Reddick, but starting in 20th, there's some room to run there. Chaos Hocevar next in line here. Remember, we were at 44 DraftKings points with Chase Elliott, and that would have been the highest so far for the average. Then we come to Chaos, the Hurricane, Carson Hocevar, at potentially one of the most chaotic tracks there is. You just would think this does not spell well for Carson Hocevar, even though he has a 10.2 average finish for those 5 races, 51.3 DraftKings average, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s, all races in the top 20, starting in 14th. Last race here in the spring, he finished 4th. The race before that, his best finish is 2nd, and that was with that 3 wide. Yeah, I think it was Hocevar, Suarez, and Blaney, I think, were the 3 cars that ended up having that finish. The question is, do you think he does it again? He won at Talladega earlier this year. He's really good at super speedways. Does that continue? I don't know. He's like Stenhouse. Causes the wreck, but doesn't get in it. Yep, unlike our boy Zane Smith. Oh, Zane just got tore to shreds this week on social media. Oh my God. Yeah, you broke the number 1 rule. If you're going to wreck somebody, don't wreck yourself. Dummy. Can Carson Hocevar finish in 2nd? I mean, the thing is, this 10 average fast laps could potentially easily be true. Because he just literally is balls to the walls, full throttle, all the time. I don't care. Get in my way. I'm going to knock you down. I like Hocevar a lot. Probably more than I should. Because he pisses me off most of the time. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine on what to do with Carson. I'm going to go off the averages, and we're going to put him in a 10th. And I think he does have fast lap. 41.7. Parker says Hocevar is going to be the GOAT when it's all over. When this race is all over, or when his career is all over? And how many championships do you think Carson Hocevar wins? That's the real question, Park. I think Carson ends up winning 2, and I think he wraps up his career somewhere in the 35 to 40 point win range. You got to remember the kid is still a kid. I think he's mid to young 20s. He'll be around for a long time. He is really pissed off a lot of people. His career, insert LeBron meme, not 1, not 2, not 3. Yeah. I mean, I respect LeBron too, and I don't like him. Problem is, I'm not sure I respect Carson, but I don't like him. Yeah, it's just he's. I do know that he is great for this sport. That part I like. Kind of like Cletus McFarland. Great for our sport. Will he ever amount to much in the world of NASCAR? Nope, probably not. That's okay. But he is great for the sport. All right, did we lock Carson in? Yep, score locked 41.7. Honestly, with Carson, I don't know what to tell you. He could easily go win the race. He could also easily finish 38th. He is the biggest wild card, in my opinion, on the board. I'm still going to run him probably 25, 30%. Just maybe because he is starting 14th. It'll probably be closer to the 15% ownership is where I'm going to probably put him. If he had more of a place differential or he was starting for could lead a bunch of laps, I could probably maybe argue one or the other. He's kind of starting in the muck. So, Brad Keselowski, another one who's typically really, really good at super speedway racing. Starting in 10th, I mean, his average finish has not been great. He did finish 17th here in the last race. His best finish here in the last 5 is second. Kind of a mixed bag. I do like the Fords and RFKs today. I think they end up leading a fair amount of laps. The nice thing about Brad is Brad's kind of like Carson in some ways. He's just going to wreck half the field, but not wreck himself. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Brad's more, or Carson Hocevar's more like Brad Keselowski. I used to hate Brad Keselowski. Same time I was hating Joey Logano. I hated both of them the same. Respect their talent level, but don't like either one of them. I've gotten to like Brad Keselowski a little bit more. Carson kind of is in that same mold, in my opinion. But either way, Brad Keselowski starting in 10th. I could go. I'm 75% he's going to finish 30th, and 25% he's going to finish 5th. I'm probably honestly, like I said, I can go kind of either way, but I'm much more apt to be. Yeah, I think we're going to finish 21st. I think he may get some laps led because he has a tendency to run long. He wants to do different things. Because if you don't think you can beat him on sheer speed, beat him on just doing something different. So I think the 12 laps led is real. I think 6 fast laps is real, but I think I'm going to put him at a 21st finishing spot, which takes him kind of out of the equation. So I just think he's starting too far up. But he does have some teammates in and around him. Chris Buescher starting in 13th, finishing position. Let's see. Let's look at. Chris Buescher. 16.2 DraftKings average, 17.2 average running position, 18.3 average finish over this whole career at Atlanta. No top 5s, 5 top 10s recently. 2. I mean, the RFKs always have good speed at super speedway drafting style tracks. Nothing's different here. He qualified in 13th, along with most of the Fords. So the question is, and I put it on the thumbnail for this: does Ford and Penske have a bounce back, or does it get really bad? And I'm kind of right there with Buescher, with Brad. I mean, I think if Brad ends up having a decent day, Buescher's going to have a decent day. So is it, when I do the builds, do I build a Brad? It'll probably be like a Brad and Buescher type of lineup. I'll kind of piece them together because I think they're kind of like 2 peas in a pod. They like to draft with each other. They like to pit with each other. They're kind of like a bromance. No, they just are teammates. That's all. But yeah, I think the 3 laps led he could easily do because I think Brad gets a few laps led. Fast laps are probably about 4. The question is this become a 30th place finish or a 5th place finish? It's kind of the same thing I feel with Brad as I do with, with Buescher here. Now, Buescher recently had a little bit of bad luck, in my opinion. Does that get cured? Does it get worse? I think it's kind of a mixed bag. I'll put him at 16th, maybe 17th, and just call it. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to be at with him. I mean, Austin Cindric, we're kind of in the same boat. I mean, the Penske's show a ton of speed. Cindric has a tendency to lead a lot of laps here. His last race here, he finished 26. His best out of the last 5 races is 4th, 21.5 Draftkings average, and only 2 of those 5 races he's finished top 10. What time is the race on the East Coast? And you like Kyle Larson? I mean, you can get Kyle Larson on the betting markets at a pretty good rate right now. But the race is at 7:17, I think, is when lock for DraftKings is, and typically green flags 2 minutes later, so 7:20. But I would not push to that. I would have all your lineups locked in by 6:30. Yeah, you don't want to push too close. But good seeing you in H Drive. Is that New Hampshire, or is that something else? Or is it just a weird name that YouTube gave you? Unsure. But make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I appreciate everyone tuning in. But yeah, I like Larson too. He's my favorite driver. I have a lot of other drivers I like, but Larson, if I had to pick one, Larson's first, Zilich is second. Boy, 2 drastically different drivers. But Austin Cindric, now, do I think he leads 41 laps? No. Do I think he leads maybe 20 laps? Yeah, maybe. I'm going to lower him by half. I think he has 3 fast laps. I'm fine with an 8th and 12th. We'll lock him in there. Ross Chastain, another one who, in my opinion, outqualified himself. But he's pretty good at Atlanta. Starting in 9th, he has an average running position of 15.5. Remember, Chase Elliott had a 44 DraftKings average. Who was it that Carson Osavar had 51? Is that what it was? Yeah, Carson Osavar had a 51.3. Well, Ross has a 47. So that's second highest DraftKings average that we've seen so far. Pretty good stat. 3 top 10s in the last 5 races, 4 top 20s. He finished 3rd in this race in the spring, and he qualified 9th. Now, the question is, can they do anything with it? I mean, Trackhouse is snake bit, that is for sure. Ross has been snake bit all year. Can he turn the corner and actually have a good race? Sure, we'll put him at 3rd. And maybe 6 laps led, 4 fast laps. I'm okay with that. And this is where this is a spot that's going to get overlooked, in my opinion. Is a 9th place starter who runs fairly well at Atlanta. And and this is where I like to do these videos, and this is what I talked about earlier, is without going through a deep dive research like this, I think Ross is a great sleeper. And he's going to get probably overlooked. He'll probably be 10% or less owned because of his starting position. People are going to draft towards the back, or they're going to pick drivers and stack the back. And if anybody gets picked up front, it's going to be probably a Blaney or a Logano. And Ross is going, in my opinion, going to get overlooked. I think he is in sub 10% owned, or right at 10%. So you could easily go 15, 20% on ownership. And if he ends up with a 3rd place finish, now, is this going to be enough to get him in the optimal? I think it all depends on how the build ends up going. I mean, really need to kind of get closer to that 55 to 60 point line. But I think all it takes is a third place finish with somebody who has a pretty good track record of being consistently towards the front in these things. Now, the luck plays a factor in it. So we got to pick somebody to finish up front. I'm going to probably go slightly out on a limb and say Ross ends up having a good day. Next in line, Bubba Wallace. NH Derive says, my channel name. Oh, cool. You're excited for Loudon race coming up. Steven says, do you think it makes a difference because Ross doesn't seem to do well in the night race? I think the last 4 or 5 Atlanta races have been at night, right? Or finished at night? I know the spring race where Tyler Reddick won, that was a night race or finished under the lights. I don't remember the last time Atlanta raced during the day. I'd have to go back and look to find out what time all the races finished. And that would take too long right now to research. If somebody else is out there and wants to do it, then let us know. But if I remember, I know the spring race finished at night. I know the Daniel Suarez, because I can remember that one finishing at night where Daniel beat Ryan Blaney in the 3-wide battle. I think most of the Atlanta races have been night races. Am I missing something? So, that would kind of, not to be argumentative about it, but that would negate the fact that Ross doesn't run well at night. And he won, Charlotte's completely different, but, he won the Coke 600. That was at night. So I don't know if you mean by night being Daytona. Talladega doesn't have lights. But I would actually almost, and I'm just going off of memory. I'm not going off of any hardcore stats on night to day for Ross. The nights that he's done well, it seems like a lot of times it's been night races. With 29-1 odds, hard not to take him. Yeah, if you can get 29-1 for Ross, why not? Is he really 29-1? What site are you getting him 29-1 at? I'm pulling up Draftkings right now to see what it has. Ross. Yeah, 30-1. Wow. Great. Appreciate it. New sub, no Larson DK. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a Larson fan. I'm not going to have. If anything, I might have 1, 2. What'd you say Larson is? 10-1? Yeah, yeah. DraftKings got him 11-1 right now, but I haven't logged in, so that may change. But Bubba Wallace typically does pretty well at super speedway drafting style tracks. 22nd, 36.1 DraftKings average, pretty solid. Starting 22nd. Doesn't have a win here in Atlanta yet, but pretty consistent finishes. Got a little room to run with him. This is a good middle of the pack. All it's going to take is to get to 6. And you also see the optimal line has dropped to 55 with the less expensive pricing that we're starting to get to. Now, it doesn't drop much below 50 because it's still going to take, a Ty Dillon at least that. It's still going to take Ty Dillon 50 points to get in the optimal. That's where all these builds get really different, and that's why it's important to look at what the optimal line looks like for even the cheap drivers. And because everybody's cheaper this weekend, we're not worried about salary cap. In fact, you probably want to have $1,000 left over or more to really kind of fall in that sweet spot. And that's just the law of averages. So the question is, how well does Bubba do? You know, I mean, I don't mind a 7th place finish. I think it could be better. I'm not sure if he leads 11 laps. I'll probably back that down to 4, but I think 3 or 4 fast laps is easily doable. I'm fine with a 54.8. You know, all we got to do actually is give him one more fast lap, and it turns into that optimal. So I'm fine with potentially putting Bubba Wallace in that optimal, and he may get a little bit under-owned starting in 22nd. But I mean, all these Toyotas are all starting right together and near each other. Good, bad, indifferent? I don't know. All right. Ricky Stenhouse. Ricky Stenhouse. I didn't mean to call him Ricky Stenhouse. It never happens. Ricky never wrecks. Starting in 15th. 45.3 Draftkings average. Ricky's always good at super speedways, drafting style tracks. And like somebody said earlier, he's really good at wrecking everybody else and not wrecking himself when it comes to these. So there is also that. But I mean, these are the where it's just an absolute coin flip. I have no real personal opinion on or thought process on does Ricky end up having a good day or not. Typically, when it's like I don't know, Ricky ends up having a decent day. So, Steve says I'm not sure about delays, but Atlanta February race always scheduled for 3 p.m. Yeah, but because of the time change, and the sun drops at 5, it still ends up finishing at night. I think that might be the difference, is because the time change, daylight savings time, that whatever throws all that in a wonk. So I still think it ends up finishing at night because it is kind of typically a little bit of a longer race. But I see what you're saying, a 7 p.m. start compared to a 3 p.m. start. And honestly, it's about the same amount of daylight, which is wild to think about, that there's that much daylight change over the course of 6 months. But when the government starts switching things around by a whole hour, and then Mother Nature does the rest, we get to that. So, but yeah, for Ricky, it's more of a coin flip than the Bubba Wallace call. In my opinion, I'm not going to say it's a all-out fade. I'm going to probably run him right at about 10%, maybe a touch less. If he can go get a 9th place finish, it's 44 points. Doesn't lead any laps, but he does typically have some fast laps. He likes to draft. He's good at this drafting style track. For him to make optimal, he's going to need to get, top 3. Probably. Depends on the build, but or does Ricky do some weird Ricky stuff and finish 23rd? I don't really love the starting spot for Ricky. It really puts in a no man's land, which could be a real area of opportunity. Kind of like Ross Chastain. It is a real opportunity that he's 7%, 6% owned, and if you got him and only 6% of the field's got him, it's a great opportunity to differentiate your lineups, and Ricky allows that. For this scenario, I'm going to put him at a 17th because I really honestly think it's a coin flip, that it could be a little better, it could be a little worse. So it's definitely not somebody I'm going to put in my core group, but it will be somebody when I've got 5 of my drivers already locked in, and I'm looking for okay, what driver could I put in that differentiates this lineup that everyone else may not have? Ricky fills that gap really well. Ross Chastain fills that gap really well. Underowned, have great potential, but it's risky. But it differentiates that lineup, and that's sometimes what is needed to win these things. And here's another Toyota Joe Gibbs 2311 car, starting in 23rd. They're all starting together. It's like it was planned. It's a conspiracy. The Toyotas have a conspiracy, I hear. At least that's what everybody online says. Not everybody, but all the crazies say online that they watch Candace Owens' show too much. I didn't say that out loud. Never mind. But Ty Gibbs, I mean, let me read his stats. Best finish of 10th. Ugh. Worst finish of 37th. 29.3, 18.7 average running position. Atlanta does not seem to like Ty Gibbs, or Ty Gibbs does not seem to like Atlanta very much. But starting 23rd, maybe a 17th. I don't think you get a bunch of laps led. Sorry. We'll give you one just in case you happen to slip. 7 fast laps. We're going to back that down to 5. Out of all the Toyotas so far, I don't like the Gibbs play a whole lot. But it's also could be because I don't really. I dislike Ty Gibbs less now than I did 3 years ago. That helps. He's starting to wear on me a little bit, but I still just tough. All right, so we'll put him in at 35.6. It kind of puts him sub-core for me. Probably not core. Alex Bowman, 7,300, starting in 6th. And not my honest opinion, kind of like Kyle Larson. I think Alex, it's either hit or miss. You know, I don't know. This is another one that just it's too. In my personal honest opinion, quick glance, he's starting too far up. But then you look at the body of work. It's like, okay, this is the whole thing. This is 2 top 5s, which equate to the 2 top 10s, 2 top 20s. Well, it's twice he does really well. The other 3, it sucks. 31.6 Draftkings average. It's not abysmal. And if you are looking to maybe try to differentiate, you could play an Alex Bowman because honestly, he's going to be sub 10% owned. Yeah, I think he goes and leads a couple laps because he's kind of starting up towards the front, so he'll have a good pit selection. But I'm going to back it to 4 laps led and 5 fast laps, finishing, we'll just call it 14th. It's honestly, it's a coin flip, but I probably won't have a whole lot of ownership with Alex. Just too risky. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. We're coming up on that 2-hour mark, and we still have a little bit of room to run here. I'm trying to get this done as quick as I can. I know. Of course, my dog's going to want to go out. Daniel Suarez, 7,200, starting in 5th. I mean, 1 win, 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s. I mean, if we're looking at the difference at 40.7 DraftKings average, slightly better than our last guy. It's honestly, I would take Daniel slightly more than I would take Alex Bowman, but I could see the argument of just fading both these guys. They're starting in the top 10, but this 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th place starting spot has been kind of a spot that's worked out well in DraftKings. So, once again, I don't know if I have enough. Well, I might, but I don't know if I would run an Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez lineup. That'll be sub 1% if it even happens. So if you're looking for a real differential, play a Daniel Suarez and an Alex Bowman together. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of lock it in about the same. Let's see, Daniel Suarez, yes. 5th. 12th, 4, 3, 27. Yeah. It honestly, it's not going to fit into a whole lot of my lineups, but it fits into the how do I differentiate pile. And Bowman, Suarez, Ross all fill that spot really well. Ryan Preece starting in 19th. Has never finished in the top 5 here, only once in the top 10, but all 5 times in the top 20. Well, that means you're going to kind of finish where you're starting, isn't it? And what's just funny because the RFK Fords all qualified really well. Did Ryan Preece just miss, or did they set his car up differently? I don't really know. But we'll give him the 14th place finish, 4 fast laps. Maybe he secretly gets up and lead a lap, but I don't think so. We'll lock it in at 37.1. I don't mind the Ryan Preece call. There's some place differential. It's just odd that the rest of the Fords and RFKs qualified slightly better than him. I mean, not a ton, but slightly. We're also talking tenths, thousandths, and hundreds of seconds separating these guys. But SVG, this will be another one. This is another just wild sleeper that you just don't really ever know. I mean, the last race we were here, he finished 6th. He didn't lead a whole lot of laps. Didn't have a ton of fast laps. He just stayed there all race. So, 4 total starts at this track with a 21.3. 6 with his best finish. I'm not going to have a whole lot, but I could easily see the argument of he'll just go and get a top 10. And because he needs to just stay in the top 10 to make the overall chase. I'm sure he has fast laps. And the other thing is, Shane will go and spin twice on his own and still end up finishing in 10th. How he does it, I don't understand that, but he does. More times that he'll spin in the middle of a race, and you go, okay, he's done. He screwed something under his underbody. Downforce will be all messed up. And then, so you know, the race ends, and he's like, how did Shane get back to 8th? Just weird. I could easily see 10th, or I could see 30th. So this is a coin flip. This is right there with the Ross Chastain. It's, you can easily differentiate. The problem is everybody kind of knows that SVG needs to have a good finish and should finish up there. But next in line, Zane Smith, everyone's favorite driver in the chat. Might as well just call him the Racing and the Drafts favorite driver. I actually like Zane a lot, so I like to give you guys a hard time. And he's starting 34th. Yes, we've got some room to run with Zane. He's going to be super high owned. He's $6,800. And literally get to 21st, and he already beats out most of these guys. So, yeah, he's going to be pretty high owned. I think he gets probably to a 15th. The optimal line has fallen to 50. Now that we're under $7,000 in price, I'm perfectly fine with a 15th place finish or better. Let's lock Zane in. I like Zane Smith. I know the chat likes Zane Smith. He seems to be the favorite. Austin Hill. Oh, big country. He and SVG got a sit down talking to. Said, you guys need to behave. I don't think that's what happened. I think they said, hey, you guys can go beat crap out of each other on the track. Just don't right hook either one of you into the wall, or we'll sit you for the rest of the year. Not that harsh, but I think they said, hey, you guys boys have at it, but you right hook somebody into a wall and you're going to come back and talk to us. We don't have much information on Austin Hill at this track because he's never running in the Cup car. Meanwhile, in the O'Reilly Xfinity car, he is a beast. That does not equate to much of anything. So I don't mind running Austin Hill. I think he could get he could probably even possibly get a top 5. Not negating that. Likelihood, not great. Probable, maybe. I don't know. we'll give him a 19th place finish, 36 points. I'll have some big country in my lineups, no doubt. And I think out of all the guys that are starting kind of back here, he's probably not going to be super heavily owned. All right. Where are we at? Josh Berry, we need to start getting moving here. Starting in 17th, 6,500, has never finished in the top 20, has a negative 7.8 Draftkings average. Oh boy. So does Josh Berry's luck change? He's not going to be in this car next year. I don't think so. I'm going to take it to there at 12.1 and lock it in and just keep on grooving and moving here. Eric Jones starting in the 11th position. I'm sure Eric Jones is super happy that we are away from road courses at this point. And his best finish at Atlanta is 5th. He finished 24th in the spring, so not super great. I think this is another one. It's a great place to be different with your lineups. I think he's going to get overlooked. He probably might even be sub 5% owned because of his starting spot. But I might throw him in a lineup or two here or there. Because I mean, all he's going to need to do is probably get to 7th, 8th. But the likelihood of that's a little bit on the rough side, so I'm going to lock it in at 15th and kind of move on from there. Steven says 63 years old. Hey, welcome to the club. I'm not quite that old, but I'm getting up there. Heavy smoker. Said was cause I quit June 17th. Never thought I could. Congratulations, bud. That is awesome. How long did you smoke for? I'm guessing for most of your life. Telling you it's easier than you think. So if you smoke and want to quit, do it. Yep, I'd agree with that. Congratulations, Steven. I will put that in my memory bank, and every time you come back to the channel, and if you make a comment, I'm going to ask. Hopefully you'll be honest. And if you're still quitting, congratulations. Yes. And it's never too late. You can always, your body will heal. Hopefully not a whole lot of scar tissue down there, but I'm proud of you. Good luck. Good job. Come back and let us know how it's going. And good for you. So Eric Jones, did we lock? Yep, we locked Eric in. Austin Dillon, starting in 4th. He smoked since you were 14 years old. Ooh, boy. Huh. Yeah, that's 50 years. Good for you. Yeah, and the whole thing is you got to quit. I smoked for a long time, so I completely understand, completely right there with you. But it's got to be your choice. Your loved ones can tell you till they're blue in the face. The TV could tell you till you're blue in the face. Whatever. Ryan, you got Ryan. Ryan Priest, Ryan Blaney, Ryan Vargas. Ryan Vargas isn't in this race. I'm guessing you're saying Ryan Blaney. Welcome to the chat, Stacy. Appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll keep moving here. But I'm guessing you think Ryan Blaney, which I mean, that's the chalk. He is the Vegas chalk. So, but yeah, I mean, good pick. I like Ryan. Not my favorite driver. Austin Dillon starting in 4th. He'll be almost a complete fade. I'm gonna put him in the same ballpark as I do my guy, Kyle Larson. It is just going to be a random. Can he potentially win? Yeah, sure. Anybody. I don't think Chad Fincham wins this race. Not sure Cody Ware or BJ McLeod win this race. But after last night, shit. Oops, sorry. Shoot. Garrett Smitley finished in the top 5. So I guess anything's possible. I don't take that wrong, Garrett. I like Garrett Smitley. But I'm gonna put Austin Dillon. Just I don't think I run Austin. I don't think I run Larson. If I do, it's a one lineup as a one-off. I can take this down now. That was my phone that was buzzing. Do I think Ryan will win? I think he's got a 10% chance. Let's put it that way. I think I said that earlier in the chat. I think Ryan has a 10% chance to win this race, and that means a 90% chance he does not win this race. So with Draftkings, that makes it a little bit tougher. If you go back to the very beginning, Ryan is one of the first drivers we cover, probably at about the 35-minute mark or so. We talked about Ryan. I think that, yes, he can win. He likes this track. Penske's fast at this track. The question is, we're going to go from day to night. We're going to go, there's also a chance of rain that's out there. Does this race get shortened? Will he be in the right position? This race has too many variables to be like, yep, he's going to win. And that's why last week, I think Denny Hamlin was plus 2.3 to win. So almost 2-1 odds. Ryan Blaney this week is probably the favorite to win by Vegas, and he's 9 or 10-1. Who do I have winning? I don't know yet. But I don't bet typically on the winner. So let me think about that for a second. Who do I? Yeah, that's a great question. I don't typically, a lot of times with these super speedways, don't think about who the winner's going to be. I just look for avenues and paths for DraftKings, meaning the points and getting the points. And if you look at the optimizer here and the stuff like that, then it kind of starts to make more sense. Like with Todd Gillen here, who is our next driver, starting 21st, has never finished in the top 10, has an average running position of 17.1. He last race here, his best finish was 15th. Last spring it was 25th, 21.7 average finish. So I think this all lines up for Todd Gillen kind of finishing where he starts. So when I come to my calculator and I build that out, I don't think he has 13 laps led. I think it's much more. Maybe he gets lucky and has some fast laps and maybe a couple of fast laps, but I think at the end it's like a 21st to 18th. So we'll lock that in at 32.1. Steven says, Mark wants Larson to win. Yes. But this is Larson's worst track. Yes. Very true. Danny is one. Danny. Denny? Or Danny? I don't know what Danny is one. Give me more information on that one. So I'm going to 32.1 for Todd Gillen. A couple one-offs here and there. I won't have a whole lot of ownership with Todd Gillen. It'll be like 10%. Michael McDowell, 18th, who typically does really well at the super speedways or drafting style tracks. And I mean, 4 top 20s in the last 5 races, 19.7 average running position. He does much better at Talladega and Daytona. He has a little bit of bad luck, which it typically happens at the end of these races. So there's already some attrition that's already done. So I don't mind the Michael McDowell play. I don't know how much ownership I'll take in it, but this is what this is all is. It's going out here and taking Michael McDowell in. If you're running 20 lineups, putting Michael McDowell in 2 or 3 of them. Put Todd Gillen in 2 or 3 of them. Put Daniel Suarez in 1 or 2. Alex Bowman in 1 or 2. Differentiate that way, and then stack your back. Then stack it with Christopher Bell and William Byron and Tyler Reddick and all of those guys to get it to happen. But then you've got the 1 or 2 less owned drivers, the less chalk. Next in line here, we've got AJ, not super speedway course ringer. I mean, he's got 3 top 20s, no top 10s, starting 27th. This one's he's not going to be super heavily owned. Plenty of place differential potential here. He's in or right around the chase cut line. He needs to have just a good, solid day. He does have a tendency to have bad luck when it comes to these super speedway races. So that's a thought process. But I mean, literally at $5,900 starting in 27th, it's not a bad call. He's typically a smart driver. The question is, does he get caught up in somebody else's funk? I mean, only needs 45 points probably to reach the optimal line. It's probably going to be closer to 50, though, to be perfectly honest. So that optimal line might be a little bit on the shaky side. So I'm going to leave it at 15, 43.7. I think this probably is pretty sneaky, and it actually works. All right, my second favorite driver, honestly, Connor Zilic. Oh my God, this poor kid cannot buy a break. Whenever the bad luck switches, because it's going to be so bipolar for Connor Zilic, he's going to go win the race. It's not going to, literally, the kid can't get one lap into a race without somebody else wrecking him. And that's being the honest truth. Half of these wrecks have not been Connor Zilic's fault. I mean, I guess he does have the steering wheel and pedal in his control, but last week was completely out of Connor Zilic's control and didn't even finish the first lap. Whenever the bad luck changes, he's going to probably win or finish top 3. Is that a possibility for Connor Zilic? Absolutely. I mean, Ross Chastain's 9th, SVG starting top 20. I mean, the potential's definitely there. All right, Zach, at the racetrack. Yes, I've got to make it to the new Atlanta. I went to the old Atlanta back when Tony Stewart won, but yeah, I need to make it to the new Atlanta. It looks like a lot of fun. Have a great time. Hopefully the weather really cooperates. I'm jealous. Very jealous. Connor Zilic, let's put him on the calculator here. 25th. I mean, this is what it is. It's do you think he has a good race or do you not? If you don't think he's got a good race, don't run him. I'm gonna have him. I'll probably have him 10 to 15%. And I could easily say, do not run him. His bad luck is not changed. And until it does, don't worry about taking him. So I'm going to put him in the same ballpark as AJ Allmendinger. Out of 20 lineups, I'll probably run him 3 to 4 times. So 15, 20%. John Hunter Nemechek, starting in 24th. Does Legacy have any speed? I don't know. Let's look at it. Hunter Nemechek's numbers. 1 top 20 out of the last 5 races. Only raced here twice, actually. So, no, that's Connor. Sorry. I thought John Hunter's run here before. 1 top 10, 2 top 5s, 20.9 average running position. Once again, this is why this lineup and these builds are going to be so tough. You could easily run John Hunter, Connor Zilic, AJ Allmendinger to be your place differential guys and have enough money to run a Blaney and Reddick and William Byron or Christopher Bell and end up having a decent day. And you don't have everybody starting in the 30s. I mean, I guess Bell's starting 32nd, but that's how weird this could end up being is if Hunter Nemechek, Zilic, and AJ have clean races, it can finish top 15. You know, I mean, you move him down to 15th, and he's at 40.7. I mean, that's not the 50 points he needs. But all it would take is a top 10. And now he's at 52. Same thing with Connor Zilic, same thing with AJ Allmendinger. Any of those guys get into the top 10, they're going to be in the optimal lineup. And they're all three very capable to be there, along with Riley Herbst, who is starting 29th. We look at Riley Herbst's numbers, though, and he's only got one top 20 out of 3 starts here. I don't know why the top 20 didn't cover over here, but I'll talk to whatever. But his best finish is 17th out of 3. I mean, but what's Riley Herbst done this year? He's outperformed all of his numbers and all of his metrics all year long. So why would that now all of a sudden change? And if he goes out and gets a 15th, it's 43.9. He goes out and gets a 12th, he's right at the 50. It's very capable, and that's somebody that we typically have been overlooking. Is it my top pick? No. Is it somebody I'm fading? Absolutely not. Now, Noah Gragson, who I probably my third favorite driver. We got to pick 2 winners here. Larson being actually the one that actually does well. But Noah Gragson and Connor Zilic, my other 2 drivers, cook for favorites, not for Draftkings. But, I mean, Noah finished 14th here in the spring. But he's got 9 total starts and only twice in the top 20 with a 28.8 average finish. I honestly, my personal opinion, and I sat on the pit box for Noah's team, they're underfunded dramatically. How Zane Smith does what he does with the equipment and everything is amazing. This poor team is so underfunded. But, once again, Garrett Smitley finishes top 5 yesterday. Can Noah Gragson finish top 10? Starting 36? I mean, he's starting probably the furthest back of drivers that I think could have a good day. I mean, the real question is, does he or does he not? He's cheap enough. He's starting far enough back. He's not Cody Ware, even though he's running close to Cody Ware speeds. But he's not BJ McLeod. Their pit crew is actually decent. They just don't have a whole lot of engineering support. So I'm a yes on the Noah thing. I have to slide this up a little bit, or it just doesn't work. I don't know why it won't scroll down. Why is that? What is going on here? What am I doing wrong? Oh well. After we get all filled out, I'll come back. There it goes. All right. So yeah, Ty Dillon starting in 16th. I think he could finish 18th, but I think that's probably about as best as it gets. One top out of the last 5 races here, 1 top 10, 2 top 20s, a 22.8 average running position, 21.2 average finish. Yes, I mean, it just honestly should be closer to that. Yeah, I don't think he has 8 fast laps. I think it's 4. So, yeah, 18.8. I'll probably fade off of Ty Dillon. I think he's starting too far up. Cole Custer, I mean, talk about another team that's outperforming ever since they switched to Chevy, and it's starting to click. They've got support from Hendrick. They're getting a lot of data and information from Hendrick and Spire. They're outperforming what they should be doing. I like the Cole Custer call way more than I like the Noah Gragson call. They have the engineering and the support more so than Front Row and Noah Gregson's team does. Now, I'm going to put it as a 15th, 16th. But once again, I like the Cole Custer play. I think he's way underpriced. And I think he ends up having a decent day. Cody Ware, this is how much attrition do you think happens in this race scenario for Cody Ware? Out of the last 5 races, 1 top 20, 22.6 Draftkings average, 28.4 average running position. And do you happen to think Cody Ware ends up being part of that attrition? Great question. I'll leave it at 28 finishing spot, and he just hangs out in the back all day and doesn't get into a whole lot of trouble. If you think the attrition is going to be higher, you can back him down to like 23rd, which puts him close to the top 15 point line. But I'll have a couple of one-offs with Cody, but I would rather take Cole Custer over Cody Ware, and it's only 2 spots of starting difference. BJ McLeod, Chad Fincham, I don't have any interest. I mean, you could run a couple of BJ McLeods. At least he's got more experience here. Chad Fincham has not ever run this racetrack before, much less in a cup car. So I'm going to lock him in at that. All right, so now that we have everybody done, we can go to the ranking systems. And all of our stuff is ranked by the points that we put in. If you ever want to go change, go back to the calculator. Don't use the back button. Go back to the calculator, which is up here, and you can change it. But then now you have the rankings, and they show up. And it comes over here and says, hey, these drivers that you've got, because of their pricing and everything else, have a decent shot on an optimal. Then you've got the top 15 potential. And that's kind of where it is. So now, before you leave or do anything, click the download CSV file. It'll download, and it'll give you their price, their starting position, and what you projected their score at. So that way you can now, if you happen to close out, at least you have all your hard work saved. So we'll save that, and then you go to the optimizer, and you now have all of your projections in. And now you can put the pricing in. So, like I said, I'm going to drop this all the way down to 4,500, and I'm actually going to take the max price down to 49.5. And then I don't want, well, because they've got, and the studs are guys that are priced $9,000 and above. So I'll keep it at 6. Minimum value drivers, yeah, put 2 in there. And then just what you do is you can make the variance as high or as low as you want. You put the amount of lineups in that you want. So if we go 40 lineups, and we got a 70% variance, which means your lineups will vary by 70%. You click build lineups, and it says built 40 of 40 lineups. You can come down here, and you can look. Tyler Reddick, 63%. William Byron, 55%. Christopher Bell, 55%. Chase Briscoe, 55%. John Hunter, 50%. Cole Custer, 18%. Now, that just used the projected totals that you've got here. Now, if you want to change the ownership or you want to lock a driver out, you come over to the lock or exclude. If you lock them in, they're definitely going to be in every lineup. If you exclude them, they won't show up in any lineups at all. So Chad Fincham, out. Austin Dillon, out. Josh Berry, out. Brad, maybe. Ty Dillon, out. BJ McLeod. Now, what I can do is I can set Brad to minimum of 0% and a max of 5%. And you can do this for each driver if you don't want to just build the lineup straight up. And then as you get I would not lock any driver in, because that, if you're running 40 lineups, it will lock that driver for all 40 of your lineups. So I don't really love to use the lock button, but the exclude button I really do like, because where's my guy? Where did my guy go? There he is, Kyle Larson. I'm gonna lock him out. I don't want to run Kyle Larson in any lineups. And so you just kind of go down through this list, and you can, exclude a driver. For Tyler Reddick, what happens if I don't want to run him in any more than 40% of my lineups? Well, I lock it in 40, but I want to make sure I run him at least 25. So that'll lock him somewhere between 25 and 40. Now once it starts, it has to build. It may go a little high or a little low, but it'll stay close to those minimum maximums. Same thing with William Byron. I can go, 10 and 45. Oops, that's 458, 45. And then, you just start to go through Christopher Bell, 10, 45, Bubba Wallace, 5 to 35%. And then you can just, once again, click build again. And as you see, now I didn't do anything with Denny Hamlin, but he's at 57, but it did move Tyler Reddick to that 40% threshold. So then once you get done with that, you can export that to your CSV file, which then pops up here like this. And if you look here, you now have, so this is your lineup against this line here. I made that a little too big. Hold on. So this is what you need to have to get to import into Draftkings. So if you go to, here, I'll pull my Draftkings up once I get this narrowed up. So this is your lineup against this line here. So Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, Riley Herbst, John Hunter Nemechek, and Connor Zilic is what the computer built out based on what I just gave it. So maybe not. But then you come over here and you go to lineups, and you go to edit entries. And after you've reserved the entry, and the easiest way to bulk reserve is through your mobile app. You click the 260, you click download. It'll show up here. Here's all of your lineups that you need to build. So then what you can do is you take these lineups here, you can copy, and this is how you bulk entry lineup to DraftKings. So we'll do because I'm got 150 max in here. I'll do this as the experiment. So you save here, then file save as, like I've got all of my entries from the last, 23, 24, 25, 26. Cup, Atlanta. This will be the fall race. I save that there. Then I go back to DraftKings, click the upload button, find the file. Well, you can't see it. It's up here, though. And it successfully uploaded 40 of the 260 lineups, which are those 40 lineups I just did. And I now have 40 of my lineups done and entered. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. But once again, 680 of you guys, or 608 views so far, 30 concurrent viewers. Anybody got any thoughts, questions, concerns before we shut this puppy down? Let me know. But next week, just stay tuned. I'll post stuff on the community chat and in the Discord. The link for the Discord is down below. If anybody's got any thoughts, wants, concerns, questions. Oh, we were going to talk about who my top 6 drivers were. Somebody asked me about that earlier. Let's look. It's real easy. My rankings. This is probably about where I'm going to be. Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Bell, Wallace, Hamlin, Briscoe. Now, those 6, great. Thank you for subscribing. Make sure you join us in the Discord also. If you like Discord or use Discord. I'll I'm there most of the time during the races, and most of the time all week you can reach me there. Dude says, Mark, I learned more from you than anyone. Well, thank you. And that's honestly why I do this, is so I can make people understand. Because if you understand how to do this, you end up understanding the sport more. And the support is the NASCAR as a sport is a great sport. And then I say it runs most of the year. Again, Bub, Amy, I don't even know how to Gonzalez. July 22nd is your birthday. Happy early birthday. 10 days from now. Awesome. But those are my 6 highest drivers. So if somebody wants to know who my winner is going to be. Once again, I don't know. I would put Ryan Blaney's probably the favorite, and I probably have to agree with Vegas on that, but I'm putting it at like a 10% odd. And that's why he's 10 to 1. And I think Vegas has that just about right. Now, what the rest of Vegas has, I think is completely wrong. I think William Byron could win this race. I'd put him at, 5 to 10%. Chase Elliott, I think, is a really good shot to win. Hocevar could easily win this race. I mean, heck, I talked about it earlier. Connor Zilic could break his unlucky streak and end up getting this win. So those are my top 6. They're going to be, those top 6 are going to be extremely chalky. It's what if you run a Reddick, Byron, Bell, it's who do you put with them? A Ross Chastain differentiates, a Chase Elliott differentiates. Now, I don't know if I would put both of those together in with those 3 or 3 like that. A John Hunter starting 24th is a pretty good pivot. Stenhouse could absolutely win this race. I mean, like I said, Garrett Smitley finished top 5 yesterday. At this point, everybody but Fincham could potentially win this race. I just don't think Fincham has the equipment to make it to the end, much less win. But the same thing could be said about Garrett Smitley. At least Garrett has run Atlanta for many, many years. But that's, I think Byron stands a good chance. Blaney probably stands a good chance. Cindric, I mean, any of the Penske cars could easily win this race. Brad Keselowski could end up winning this race. Reddick could go back to back. So I know that's hard, but super speedways are hard, and that's this build is much harder than it seems from the onset. You're like, okay, drafting track, super speedway. Like if we were Daytona or Talladega, there's no way in heck I'm telling you to start anybody in the top 10, probably not even the top 15 for Draftkings. Now to win, that's completely different. But for Draftkings, because of the way the point system works, I'm telling you not to go into it. Here, we've already seen 4 of the last 5 had people starting in the top 10 make the optimal lineup. So good luck to everyone. If you do happen to end up winning something, and you got some of that information from me and want to give a little bit of credit and credence to the website, we are, let me pull that up real quick. I don't want to get rid of my hard work. Like I said, don't do that. I do have a winner section down here. I would love to add some more people to the winner section. So if you happen to win, take a screenshot. You could submit it through the website, and would love to add you, give you the shout out for your win. But other than that, I'm going to let everybody go. It's been 2 hours and 39 minutes. My son plays baseball at 4 o'clock down at VCU in downtown Richmond. Plays at the old Richmond Squirrels ballpark. Pretty cool for a 15-year-old to go play at a minor league park. So pretty excited to watch him play ball with his travel team. And then we'll we'll see everyone next Saturday. And I appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe button, join us in Discord. We'll see you later this week. Thanks. Bye.
Gentlemen, start your engines. 40 cars coming to life.
He's going to take the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so got to be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker pass, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drug your butt off tonight. We had the fastest car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job.